Is that a sense of normalcy I detect? 2 straight 4-goal outings for FC Barcelona will hopefully quiet the critics for at least about a week. Or they'll just bring up that Barcelona should probably, with their squad, finish first or second in the Liga, and Real Valladolid, with their squad and the way they've started this season, will likely find themselves at the bottom, if not the very bottom of the Liga. But to those critics I say, you can only play the team in front of you, and Barcelona whooped the team that was in front of them today at the Spotify Camp Nou. So let's get into it. The 5 headlines from Barcelona's 4-0 rout of Real Valladolid. 1 is regular day at the office. Yes, I know that Barcelona was as good as Real Valladolid was as bad, but Barca still had to execute. Take Busquets and Pedri for example. Busi was 7 for 7 on his long balls, while Pedri was 13 of 13. They could have easily overhit or underhit just one of those balls, but they didn't, and Pedri added that fantastic goal as well. They were perfect in the long balls category today. And while it wasn't just those two, those stats tell you that Barcelona dictated the entire match against their opponent. Balls were flinging side to side, diagonal, horizontal. There was pausa, and there was also direct action as well. For the first 85 minutes, they generally went where they wanted on the field, got close at times, found the back of the net in others, but largely looked untroubled throughout the match. After some Valladolid scares in recent seasons, it was nice to just go and take care of business and not have to worry about a team that you should be beating. And while it may seem a bit unexciting when those 3 points never really feel in question, but if you do that 30 times against 15 of your 19 La Liga opponents, then you've probably mathematically won the Liga. And unfortunately, we know that they're all not so straightforward. 2 is early Pichichi. I feel like I'm going to have to talk about Lewandowski most often of any other player for Barcelona in these match reviews this season. For good reason. He's going to be Barcelona's leading goal scorer. It's what I predicted in the preseason. The real question was how many goals he's going to pour in. I'm not sure exactly what the answer is to that, but my guess of 40 looks to be pretty on pace at this point. And he added 2 today. I would kind of put off talking about him as headline 4 or 5 usually, because I expect him to get a goal or 2, especially every other week, especially when Barca aren't playing twice a week, let's put it that way as well. But with these 2 goals, you got to talk about the brace because of the way that they happened. It was the second straight brace for Lewandowski, and what a brace it was. Those are 2 goals that not many can score like that. That second goal especially, a back heel off the defender, and you could tell that he knew exactly what he was doing. He even hit the post late, going for the hat-trick. And I do say it in jest, but he gave Sergio Roberto a goal. Valladolid was totally done with the game by that point, and yeah, Lewandowski probably should have had a third. And he's kind of beating himself up about that too. There's a seriousness to Lewandowski. And it wasn't even the goal scoring that is most impressive. It's the way that on that front line, gone are the days of even last fall, when players were trying to figure out how to play off of Memphis Depay, or just kind of figure out where their role was up top. And now it's Lewandowski, directing traffic, even taking a prodigious talent like Ansu Fati and saying, you go there, come in behind me, this is where you need to be, we need to figure this out and get this spacing right. And part of that impact in that seriousness that immediately takes effect is his movement, his constant movement. Age does not matter to this man, clearly already this season. Yeah, maybe he'll taper off on the pressing, but it's not even that he's pressing too hard, or it's not that he's, going all out 100% like we're watching Gabi do. Lewandowski is so smart at picking his moments, understanding the runs that need to be made, understanding the runs that don't need to be made, so he drops in, holds up play, does everything required of a center forward. 3 is perfect complements. And who better when you have a typical number 9? Something that Barcelona has had in their past. We pretend that it didn't exist, that a number 9 for Barcelona didn't exist. And what better to complement him than 2 of the most mercurial wingers in the world? It's 2 more assists for Ousmane Dembélé, who again I also predicted would probably lead the league again in assists if he's anywhere near the pace he was at when he came back from injury. Remember, in almost half the minutes last year, he had more assists than anybody else in the Liga. And I expected he could do that this year with only competition from Rafinha, and I guess maybe some competition from Vini Jr. at Real Madrid, or Karim Benzema. They're banging in goals as well on the other side. Because this game was already kind of over due to that wing play. It was all Rafinha throughout the first 30 minutes of this game as Barcelona trying to break through. They get their goal, 1-0, Rafinha to Lewandowski. And yeah, it was kind of a rout, but Rafinha was that guiding light. And that first goal was just kind of easy for Barcelona. Busquets, a long diagonal ball to Rafinha, diagonal cross from Rafinha into Lewandowski, who I talked about the second goal, but the first goal also, he runs through it, acrobatically puts it in. A really difficult finish. And Rafinha's line for the day, 1 assist, 2 big chances created, 6 key passes, 4 of 11 accurate crosses. Okay, that one's not so great. 3 of 4 successful dribbles, and 5 of 6 of his duels won. After the cooling break, too, we keep seeing Xavi doing this. Dembele and Rafinha switched, where Rafinha was on the right, Dembele was on the left, and for the rest of that half, after the goal was scored, they switched. And that seems to be one of the activations. When goals are scored, hey, let's immediately switch things up on the opponent and put them under even more pressure. As if they were just uncomfortable enough to let in a goal, we're going to make them even more uncomfortable by reversing what we just had. And with these two being so good too, last season, I could generally predict by the end of the year how many attacks would go down the left, how many would go down the right. Understanding that there was those numerical advantages on the left, and then they would try to isolate Dembele on the right side, get that diagonal ball over to him, and figure things out. Now this year, it's a lot down the right again, but even more so than normal. More than 20 attacks had gone down that right by the 70th minute, and only 6 through the middle and the left. And I do think if things aren't working, that we could see a bit more balance as varied attacks, especially with Balde as he gets more comfortable, or if it goes back to Alba, we'll probably see quite a bit more go down the left. But in this case, Rafinha was the hot hand, if you will, and that's the guy you got to continue to feed, and he just went to work. Now, for Rafinha, I wonder if he was a bit frustrated or showing frustration when he left the field, but I'm not sure I put too much stock into it when the team won 4-0. It's way, way too early for a new signing who only had eyes for Barcelona to be mad about coming out 60 minutes in for very, very talented teammates, including the guy wearing the number 10 shirt in Ansu Fati. So I don't think there's anything to that. 4 is shoring up the defense. If Marc-Andre ter Stegen is going to keep making these saves, it was 2 more really, really good ones today, in what was the 3 best matches in a row that ter Stegen has had since 2018. He, and he alone, is going to be the biggest upgrade to that back line from even the last 2 seasons to now. And adding to ter Stegen, arguably the best defender in the league last year in Jules Kounde, who we finally got to see after being registered and debuting for Barcelona in an actual official match. We didn't have to see too much of Kounde. Positionally, they weren't really asking him to do, that being Barcelona or Real Valladolid. Weren't really asking too many questions of him. He got forward when he wanted to. He broke some lines when he wanted to. And I think just positionally, defensively, did not have to do anything too crazy to be able to handle the wingers from Real Valladolid. But that said, Kounde was also not getting his own way by being perfectly positioned either as the right back or the right center back, which he seemed very, very comfortable with right out of the gate, playing right next to Araujo, Eric Garcia next to him. He also blocked the ball off the line late, which a reminder to me that, yeah, I was excited about his offensive skill set, but this guy's just a gamer on the defensive end. It's incredible to think that the back line in one window went from, no disrespect to these players, but what Xavi was trotting out in the spring last year of Lenglet and Migueza for matches that mattered and big matches, instead now immediately, again, no disrespect to those guys, but you've now upgraded to this new version of Eric Garcia, supported by Ronald Araujo and Jules Kounde next to him, with an informed ter Stegen. The fullback spots and that depth is a weakness of this team, but when your 4 center backs plus 5 as PK is Garcia, Araujo, Kounde, and Christensen, Xavi is going to be able to solve problems. I mean, really solve problems, even without having to bring in a big money right back. And speaking of Balde, because he was the left back or the left winger in this formation today, whether it was a 3-4-3 or 4-3-3, depending on whether Barcelona had the ball or not, Balde, he started again. And I think that's something we're going to have to hit more on the podcast this week, so I'm going to save that. We're not going to waste a headline there. And headline 5 is Barca back in business. And I do mean literal business here. As friend of the podcast, Rory Barlow, pointed out on Twitter, Barcelona averaged around 54,000 fans last season at the Camp Nou. And this season, it's 80,000 between the Gamper, Rayo, and Valladolid. Extrapolate those 25,000 or so additional people over the course of all the home games this season, and that's a lot more tickets sold and a lot more gate revenue for Barcelona. You're likely looking at the transfer fee of Kounde in additional revenue if that number stays consistent. And finally, looking at the 11 who started this match, it does feel a bit like a Gala 11 sans Balde. Or with Balde, who knows? Let's call it a Gala 10 plus 1. If Barca had a European game tomorrow night, and they do have one in a little over a week, that 11 today felt like an almost locked-in 10 of 11. Right now, it's Gavi, who became the first player born in 2003 to hit 50 La Liga appearances, getting the start, so I'm penciling him in. It's Ansu coming off the bench, and you're crazy if you think Xavi's going with any combo that isn't Dembele, Rafinha, Lewandowski when it matters. And then Pedri and Busquets, and the back 5 that we already discussed. And at this moment, while those starters are holding down those jobs, I mean, Alba can clearly get his starting spot back. It wouldn't surprise me if Kessié does go on a huge run of games started. I mean, De Jong, is he battling for the spot, not just a backup spot for Busquets, but a starting spot in Barcelona midfield still? He should be battling for one, that being Frankie De Jong, and he's clearly a part of Xavi's plans this year. And that's a reminder, too, with the first 3 games of the season, when these subs come in, for the time I've been doing this and the time I've been talking to you, not just the YouTube channel, but the podcast, like we're talking about half a decade, Barca's bench has never been this good, and Xavi has so many talented options. It's incredible to think that he does kind of already have 10 of 11 locked in when you have so many players on the bench who can come on, just like Christensen, who's a starter in a Champions League winning team, and give you all you need and more, and arguably could be starting themselves. And speaking of these match reviews, I know this came out a little bit late, but if you subscribe, like the channel, you can make sure you don't miss one. I'll let you know if I'm going to miss one. But as always is the case with victory, especially a multi-goal victory, I try to get these out as soon as I possibly can. So please enjoy, again, like, subscribe, and as always, Forza Barca.